Hi, and good afternoon. Would you please start off by stating your name and profession?
So my name is Amelia Fletcher. I'm an economist, and I do my economics in academia. I'm a professor of competition policy at the University of East Anglia.
And why did you specialize in competition economics?
So I was always, when I was studying economics, more inclined towards microeconomics and industrial organisation. But when I joined economic consultancy after my PhD, I did try a few different areas, including health economics and media economics. Competition economics was the area where I found the work just most interesting, most challenging, but I'm also a firm believer that effective competition does really matter. That doesn't mean that I'm a kind of complete free trade economist. I actually think that competition only has good outcomes in certain circumstances, and I've spent quite a lot of my career kind of thinking about what those circumstances are. Essentially, I think that competition needs to take place within a regulatory framework that ensures that it occurs in the right dimensions. But if we can achieve that, I think it's an incredible driver of productivity, innovation, economic welfare, and all of that helps me feel pretty okay about my job.
That sounds good. From an economics perspective, which are the two biggest challenges you feel in applying competition economics in digital markets?
So I'm going to cheat, and for my first biggest challenge, I'm going to have the underlying economics, which is obviously quite a big thing. But it's just, there is a unique combination, I think, in digital markets of multi-sided platforms with strong network externalities, huge economies of scale and scope, a critical role played by data, which is itself very specific, has very specific characteristics, big ability of online firms to control the choice architecture facing users and thereby influence their behavior. So behavioral economics comes in. Also incredibly highly dynamic, lots of innovation, markets keep changing. So all of this makes economic analysis basically very complex, very difficult. So all of that is my first biggest challenge.
Okay.
The second biggest challenge, I think, is with the interactions with other areas of policy, which, I mean, that's always kind of true when you're looking at competition economics, but it feels a greater order of magnitude for digital markets. So, for example, areas like consumer protection, privacy, online safety, intellectual property, system integrity, trade, all of those different policy areas really are playing quite strongly into the competition debate, and there's some important kind of synergies and tensions, and it's all that just adds to the complexity.
Okay, so a lot of challenges there. Perhaps an easier question, because it's just a yes or no question, and something we've been thinking about a lot in competition law. More ex-ante regulation in digital markets, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you need.
From a lawyer's perspective, what I'm always wondering when I talk to competition economists is, what is the one thing that every competition lawyer should know about competition economics, but that we frequently get wrong as legal academics?
So this one's a struggle. But I think that one of the things to just, I wanted to kind of emphasize is that economics, we all know, is all about incentives, really. And what we also know is that dynamic incentives, so to invest and to innovate, are in the end much more important for everything than static incentives to just offer a better product or service in the short run. But the economics profession, it isn't always honest about this, but it has far more effective tools for assessing the short run outcomes than long run outcomes. Economists can rarely provide really very precise estimates of likely long run outcomes. The trouble that brings is that the focus of lawyers is on getting firm evidence. They want firm empirical evidence, and that means it tends to push cases and case assessment in the wrong direction, towards focusing on the here and now because we can measure it, when it's actually the dynamic, the future that matters. So how do we deal with that, I think that, evidence can help us. We need to be aware of the caveats, but we also need to give greater focus than we have in the past, I think, to basic economic theory, because that's what tells us about incentives. And I think we can tell quite a lot about the future if we kind of go back to first principles and don't get over reliant on the empirical evidence. Now, lawyers tend not to like that because it seems more complex, less tangible. There's a lot of on the one hand, on the other hands, lots of factors at play. But I think unless we do address that issue of thinking more effectively about dynamic outcomes, there's actually a serious risk that competition policy can work against rather than for long-term welfare, and that's not good.
Okay, something to definitely bear in mind. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to speaking to you in a minute.
Thank you.